Accessing secret history files. Identify Dr. Brian Sovryn, 21st century anarchist, tech journalist, game developer, creator of the podcast Sovryn Tech, directly responsible for stopping the enslavement of humanity by the blockchain intelligence. By the year 2099, Dr. Sovryn's work would lead to the creation of various anarchist colonies in space and in Earth's oceans, as well as...
Are you ready for the hottest tech news, analysis, and commentary? Are you ready for the bleeding edge in science and ethics? Then it's time for Sovryn Tech. With your host, the golden stallion of the tech world, the man in triple black, the rated R radio star, Brian Sovryn. He has a really long, impressive resume. And now, here's Brian.
Just coming off an appearance on Tell It to Groucho, baby. Oh, yes, the Golden Stallion, the man of tomorrow, Savzu, the rated R radio star. Ready for another episode of Sovryn Tech. But once again, I am not alone. It's so good not to be alone.
Yeah, aliens.
Yeah, sure, right.
Joined,
joined, of course, by the, I'll say intergalactic beauties, certainly.
Oh, I like that. Thank you.
The lovely and hyper-intelligent Dr. Stephanie Murphy here to take us along in the show.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it's fucking hot up here.
I was just thinking the same thing.
We're having a heat wave in New Hampshire, so if we sound if you hear sweat like dripping onto the microphone, that's why.
Yeah, I mean, it is hot. I mean, it'd be hot enough, you just being in the room.
Oh, just us together in the room makes it, I mean, at least another 5 degrees. But...
Woo! And I'll admit, I've got some hot topics to get into, that's for sure. But definitely the temperature is not helping. We'll have to get that air conditioning installed.
It really
next
snuck
week.
Up on us. It caught us by surprise.
Oh, it came out of
now,
nowhere.
This was the ultimate El Nino year. You know, remember in the 90s?
Well, because the 90s are back.
That's right, yeah. Because in the 90s, they said every year was El Nino, even though only 1 out of every 7 or whatever was El Nino.
Right. Yeah, it was like a running joke in movies.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It was very popular to say it's El Nino, and every time there was unexpected weather, it would be blamed on that. But this year really is El Nino, and we've been robbed of our beautiful icy winter in New Hampshire, and now it's like ass hot on Memorial Day weekend.
It is ass hot. My ass is sticking to the chair.
That's what happens when you don't wear pants in the studio.
Yeah, well...
Don't tell our podcast guests, because you're in the guest chair.
Oh, yeah. Good. Well,
we'll have to get one of those little towels like when you go to the gym and you have to like spray down the benches and wipe your sweat off. We'll have a little spray bottle.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. All right. Well, why don't we get into the random access this week, Stephanie? We've actually got a ton of great stories, and I'm glad you're here for some of them because I consider you far more articulate than I, and actually far more knowledgeable. But
you're really building up a big expectation on a warm, unseasonably hot night.
And it's a late night recording, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually I do this show, I record it like, I don't know, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. on a Saturday or something.
8 a.m., yeah, right.
Well,
it's not
sometimes it's 8 a.m.
I can think of a few times when you've done that, but usually it's like 11 a.m.
No. Usually 9, 10, something like that.
Oh,
this is church.
See, this is why we're building another studio, because sometimes I need the studio on Saturday mornings, and you're in the studio doing Sovryn Tech, so I can't use it. I have to wait.
Which, by the way, if no one listened to the show that we co-host together, Sex and Science Hour, if they didn't listen to this week's episode, which, by the way, I thought it was dynamite.
It's an awesome show. I'm having so much fun doing it.
Always. But somebody actually donated, and really it is much an effort to create the second studio, got a 21:9 monitor.
That thing is amazing. You
It's
set
huge.
it up. It is so cool.
Yeah.
You can have literally like 3
windows open on the screen at the same time and look between them without even having to switch.
Yeah, I can have just tons of web browsers open if I wanted. I mean, there's so much because it's $20.
I should probably get a monitor like that for audio editing because it's perfect for that because what you need is a long, skinny strip and it doesn't fit on most boxy square monitors. I thought my monitor was long, but yours is, I mean, that thing is beautiful.
Right, yeah, it's long and beautiful.
Thank you. Whoever sent that to you is awesome.
But yeah, you have, normally like your screens are all 16 by 9. The average widescreen is 16 by 9.
Okay.
This is 21 by 9. So it's significantly wider. Like it's ultra wide screen. And this is good for all kinds of things, like you mentioned, for doing sound editing. It's great for multitasking. It is great for gaming as well. If the game can support it, I mean, you really get like immersed in the world. And that's handy for me too, because I make my own video games, even though they're not necessarily like immersive experiences in that sense. I could still see making some pretty good use of this because other people have donated like the CryEngine things to me. But anyway, yeah, thanks so much for that. Of course, if anyone else wants to donate more equipment, there's a whole slew of it that is needed to, to really increase the output that comes out of. We're going to have to come up with a name for I don't know, the studio.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could make like a bullshit production company or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Or like a media empire,
Yeah, we'll come up with something.
The Imperial Media of Sovryn Murphy Productions. Or
Imperial.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I was going to say that Klingon robe is really necessary to keep the output coming out of the studio.
Well, some people have fun with the things that they decide to purchase me. And if you wish to add on, just go to wishlist.zog.ninja. And that'll do that. And if you just want to donate, also donate.zog.ninja will work for that.
Believe me, when Brian gets these packages coming in the mail, he's like so excited about it. He's like, oh my God, somebody bought something for my wish list. And then he goes and opens it. It's like Christmas morning.
It is.
And then he sees what's inside and he's like, ah.
And that's saying something for a little Jewish boy.
And then, yeah, exactly. So you never had Christmas growing up, but now you get to have Christmas every day when someone buys something from your Amazon wish list.
Thanks to the listeners. So, and boy, no comments about my Tell It to Groucho opening.
I didn't get that. What do you mean by that?
That was a show like in the 50s and 60s. It was kind of an interview show.
See, no comments
sort of a
because
Johnny Carson.
Nobody got it.
I know, but I wanted
You're
somebody...
always making these obscure references.
But it would have been great. It's like Groucho Marx, really? And then I'd say, well, yeah, I'm a cultural Marxist.
Oh.
Anyway, but yeah, Tell It to Groucho.
Where are those
was
crickets?
a
We opened
show.
the window before. We were going to do the show with the window open because it's so hot. But there were crickets outside, and I said, why don't we just do it? And whenever we make a joke that's not that funny, we can just be silent, and the crickets will be there.
Yeah, they'd be all set. Built-in natural sound effects. I love it. All right, well, let's really get into the random access this time around. And unfortunately, this one is not a joke. I wish it was. I mean, it's funny in an ironic way, perhaps not in a ha-ha way. And that is a story that I covered 2-3 weeks ago, which had to do with, I believe it was the Philadelphia Police Department. It was either Philadelphia or it was Pittsburgh, one of those. And what they had done is that they took Google Maps and they put a Google Maps sticker onto their car. Then they were like, scanning license plates and all of this.
They disguised themselves as a Google Maps vehicle.
Right.
When they were actually doing some kind of surveillance.
Exactly. And I've been trying to keep tabs on this and to find more information about this because, as I had said, I was like, well, the least that Google needs to do, not that I think Google gives a shit because, they suck the state's dick as much as anybody else, and they seem to love it, actually. I was hoping they'd at least like sue, not that I care for legal action either, but I'd hope, just for PR's sake, that they would sue the police department, for doing this sort of thing. And even if I don't care if the Google symbol is somehow a Creative Commons thing or something, I mean, there's got to be something they could get them for, defamation of corporate character or something like that. Nothing has come of this. The story has been effectively completely forgotten. And there's plenty of time for someone to be out in front of it. So my point still stands, as I made on Sovereign Tech, 2-3 weeks ago, is anytime you see the Google symbol online, offline, real life, internet, wherever, just make it synonymous with the state. Because you just can't tell anymore. And Google doesn't seem to want to stand up for its own, not that I would take anybody to court, but if somebody took Zomia offline games, and made like a pro police game or something like that, I'd be making a stink about it. I'd at least make a comment. All Google said is, well, we're looking into this. Well, I mean, maybe something will come up later, but it's too little. I mean, really more should be done. So there you go. I mean, you can't trust it. I mean, and really, maybe that'll go for, I mean, Apple has cars out there that are doing maps as well. Maybe.
Why don't they just do it with an Uber vehicle? Because Uber seems to love the police, even more than Google.
Yeah, I mean, they love. We've talked about that. I mean, Uber. Well, they fund Urban Shield, which is a police convention, or they're sponsors of it anyway. They also, whenever they're asked for user data, whenever they ask for information about a user or of a Uber employee or driver.
No problem.
No problem. You don't need, please. You don't need any you don't need to go to any special courts or anything. No
who
warrants.
Cares about those?
Just ask us. We'll just hand it over to you. It's totally fine. So yeah, Uber certainly, is even more egregious as far as the relationship with the state. So
have you ever seen a Google vehicle driving around in New Hampshire? Because I have.
Not in New Hampshire. I've seen him in upstate New York.
I've seen a few in New Hampshire, and it wasn't the same threatened feeling that I feel like when I see a cop car,
sure.
frankly.
Sure.
It wasn't the same like little heart pounding, like kind of scared feeling.
Right.
Certainly don't really feel safer, but I definitely got like a little bit of a creepy feeling, a creeped feeling when I saw the Google vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think that came from? Just because it has this camera running? I mean, is that the idea?
Well, yeah, I was like, oh shit, like, is it going to catch me at like a weird moment and then it's going to be like immortalized on Google Maps?
Yeah. No,
or is it going to catch something embarrassing like in front of my house or something, or in front of me, or
right.
Is it going to catch my car driving by and then people will see my car? And I don't know. It's very weird.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I mean, I think it's weird. I think there's a lot of ways that what they're trying to do could be done in completely different. I mean, for one, it's almost a fool's game. I mean, the Street View data. I mean, businesses change, especially in some towns in New Hampshire. I mean, there's businesses that shift out every 6 months. So you're getting kind of inaccurate data there. I mean, you'd have to have a Google car go through every 6 months.
Well, that's why they do.
Well, I don't know that they go through that often,
yeah.
but I think it's kind of a fool's errand. Like, I think to do like a general 3D representation, perhaps, of a street or something like that is interesting. But at the same time, I don't know that many people that really spend that much time looking through Street View. Like, it was cool for a little while. It was a little bit of it almost felt like a gimmick. And I don't know anyone else that really messes with it.
The only
anymore.
reason I look at it closely ever is to kind of like be nosy, honestly.
Like, right, but how often do you do that?
Well, I did it once because I was trying to give somebody else directions to a parking lot at the college where I was defending my PhD thesis, and I was like, "Ooh, I wonder how far it goes into the parking lot. Can you see like the entrance to the buildings?
Right.
Can I put like a little location here?" And it went pretty far in.
Right, but would you say you're using Street View like once a month, once a year, once a day, once a week?
Once every 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right, that's my point. So I mean, that I would qualify that as rarely used.
Okay, so yeah, fair enough. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be so paranoid and worrying, like thinking it's all about me. Oh my God, everybody's looking at me.
Oh, I think it's fair to be paranoid. I mean, I don't like the idea. I mean, satellite, all that stuff is really kind of a problem. Maybe we'll get into that more a little bit later on.
This is kind of a tangent. I mean, the point is, like, I wanted to say that, so often we tend to think like, oh my God, it's all about me. Like, everybody's going to be looking at me and pointing and laughing. When, get over yourself. Like, it's really not about you. Nobody cares.
Well,
most people are self-absorbed anyway, so they're not looking at you.
I mean, to be fair, you are the center of my universe. So, I mean, it's not.
Thank you, sweetie. Yeah. I don't mind if you gawk at me.
All right.
Nobody else.
There we go. Well, unless it's a woman,
There's
maybe.
One pass, and it goes to you.
Thank you. All right. So we might get into that more later because we might have a drone story that we'll get into. But anyway, other random access. I just wanted to say that Google has done nothing about this really, what I think is a genuine, like what I would consider a PR nightmare and I would consider unethical. And they've done jack shit because they're a company that, just doesn't care about anybody. Let's see. So next one here. Well, here's a little switch. This is interesting. Amazon is expanding their, they're kind of in the Seattle Light area, as it's called. And Amazon is expanding its headquarters. The thing is that it's going to be a while before they even, can fill in like this area that they bought out for a couple of years and before they do all the renovating and all this stuff. So for the next 2 years, this large piece of property with the building on it and everything that Amazon purchased to expand their campus is going to be a homeless shelter.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. I was like, well, fuck, I wish it was that forever, but good. Well, not that I want to give Amazon a whole lot of credit, but
brings up an interesting point. Like, what are they going to do if there's a bunch of homeless people that come to kind of like rely on it, and then they're just going to be like, sorry, find another shelter,
Well, it's a good question. I mean, and maybe Bezos would fund, an alternative or something like that. I mean, eventually, and I don't mean this to sound as dystopian as it is, but most of these campuses for these companies are going to turn into literal cities, sooner or later. So, I mean, there's always going to be the next expansion plan.
Yeah.
But
did they literally like buy a town, or is it just a large piece of property?
No, it's just a building, it's actually, I think it's an old hotel that they purchased. Yeah.
See, I don't know why. There literally are towns. We've talked about this.
Oh, we're going to get in trouble. All right, go ahead.
No, there literally are towns where you can buy a whole town in the U.S.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, some of them have problems. Like, there's that one where there's like the sidewalks are melting in Philadelphia.
Oh,
Not Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like somewhere in Pennsylvania. It's got a problem where there's some kind of geothermal energy. The sidewalks are melting.
Right.
And then there's like one in North Dakota that like may be contaminated with something or,
No, but there's one in South Dakota for like, I think it's 600,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's
there's
nothing to a company
California.
like Amazon. Why not just buy the town and then build a city, make their own little Ave Maria,
Sure. Well, I mean, eventually it's going to come to that. I mean, and actually, like, this is a point I bring up all the time with like, with political campaigns. The amount of money that people like a Ron Paul or others make in political donations, they could buy their own city and they could run it more or less however they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and some states are very favorable to, more city ordinance and municipality, law than they are to, the overall state. So there's lots of ways that could work out. So it just shows, I mean, what a waste of time, and none of these people put their money where their mouth is. But I'll give Amazon a little bit of credit. Good move. If you're not doing anything with that building for 2 years, fine. Let people shack up in it. I think that's wonderful. I mean, and it's ironic that a company like Amazon is showing up every church in the country, because I think that, most churches I know of are only open 1 day a week, and, that, or maybe 2 at best. Well, the rest of those days, I mean, and even on those other days, those Christian, take in some homeless people for fuck's sake. But anyway, we'll get in trouble for talking.
Some of them do. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I was just thinking, like, when I was a kid, I remember some situation where there was a rumor that like the rabbi was like living in the synagogue because he lost his house or something. He was homeless for a while.
Sure.
He was just living there.
Yeah, pastors do that. I mean, that's commonplace.
Yeah.
Like, particularly in Christianity, that's a little more commonplace. But anyway, we'll get in trouble for somehow showing any care for homeless people, because it's not a good thing for anarchists to do, as I understand it. But anyway, sarcasm. Here's a little shift. Peter Thiel. And he apparently, and this is another story that we talked about a few weeks ago on Sovereign Tech, which had to do with the immortal Hulkster, of course, Hulk Hogan. He was taking on Gawker, for them showing a sex tape that, he didn't necessarily need to be revealed.
We had a great conversation with that on the show.
Yeah, thank you. And so apparently Peter Thiel is backing a lot of cases, not just the Hulksters,
But his was included in that.
Peter Thiel
was
is one of
helping
them.
him fight Gawker.
Right. And a lot of people, and it's funny, like this whole situation is really crazy. Not that I am any fan of Peter Thiel, and I've made that super clear. I mean, the guy that made Palantir, I love how people say he's libertarian. Oh yeah, he just created the greatest spy system in history. That's all. And that being Palantir. He supposedly, the argument is that like in 2007 or 2009, something like that, it was not known that he is gay.
Right.
And so Gawker
was going to out
him. as being such, and he asked them not to.
So he's got a grudge against Gawker.
Yeah, and they went ahead and, and did it. I mean, Gawker goes after all kinds of people. They've gone after Leo Laporte. Hell, they've smeared me.
Really? When did they smear
it's true. You know that's when Coins in the Kingdom.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they said I was a fearmonger. They had this whole thing, and they were complaining about my anti-government stance. I mean, I certainly have beef with Gawker. I'll admit to that.
No publicity is bad publicity.
Well, I agree. I agree. But
you should put a thing on your website that says, as seen in Gawker.
Yeah, I might do that. But, here's the interesting thing, like with Peter Thiel, is that now, Gawker's kind of trying to defend itself. And I've read the stories on Gawker, and it pains me to click on those links. But in the comments, a lot of people are saying, I can't believe you're trying to play the victim here. So most people recognize that Gawker is kind of in the wrong. Now, this gets weird because what they're saying is, or what Gawker is claiming, is that Peter Thiel's doing all of this because he wants payback. And this is actually what this really speaks to. Like they're trying to, because they know they screwed up with Hogan. They know they showed something that they shouldn't have shown. Okay. That they, either broke some kind of ethics or liberties or whatever. Okay.
But they're only sorry because they got caught.
Right. Yeah. Because someone's taking them to task.
Yeah.
Okay. And not that I think going to court is anything worthwhile, but anyway, what they're painting it now as is this is because we are going after Silicon Valley, and these Silicon Valley billionaires, and all these unicorns and everything, they don't like that we're looking into their lives and all this shit. Like they're really moving the goalpost, like as to what this is all about. And, it kills me because even on some other tech shows that I listen to, they're like, well, yeah, we are a little worried. I mean, we understand Hogan's point, but we are a little worried about journalists, the ability, freedom of speech, and can journalists actually report on things and all this. And it's like, every week on Sovryn Tech, I'm going after something in Silicon Valley, some kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't have to know that somebody's gay. I don't have to know that, I made fun of Tim Cook without him being gay, or not made fun of. I went after Apple, none of that, all those personal little details, or most of them anyway, they don't matter. Like right, what happens in somebody's bedroom, who gives a shit? That doesn't have anything to speak about the technology.
It's such a non-issue. It's almost like the conspiracy theorists who go after who want to make these weird allegations of things that aren't really proven and maybe interesting, but there's not much evidence. It's like the government does all these bad things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like 9/11 truthers saying see, look, they did 9/11 when, the government does all these things that it's absolutely irrefutable. Like there's no question that they did them.
Yeah.
And they're terrible, and you can prove that they're bad because of that. It's basically like focusing on the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, they are. I mean, I don't get the point. Like what is the goal of, going into these Silicon Valley's personal lives? Like, what's the purpose there? If you're going to report that somehow they had some backroom shady deal, with Microsoft and Apple, Satya Nadella and Tim Cook were, doing some backroom deal or something, that's a little bit different. But then going and saying that Satya and Tim Cook might be, having a good time or something in the background, that doesn't mean shit.
Right. Like somebody who lives in San Francisco's gay. Well, San Francisco's the best place in the world to be gay.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone who lives in California might be a swinger or kind of a freak. What? Yawn. That's been going on for 40 fucking years.
Right.
California's known for being sexually free. It's Hollywood, it's where the porn's made. It's
So
who gives a shit.
Right. So this whole narrative that it's all about, Silicon Valley doesn't like us looking into their lives. Nobody likes you looking into their lives. Mm. And if you want to report on Silicon Valley, there's plenty of shit to talk about that has nothing to do with anybody's sexual orientation, sex life, or whatever. Oh, man. Anyway, so, it's all nonsense. And again, I don't like Peter Thiel, but, go get him, Hogan. Yeah, take him for the 3 count. He already did. Here's a little shift. Let's shift on this. I mentioned this briefly last week, but this was interesting. At Google I/O, they did talk about, and people are starting to have it roll out to their developer builds, apparently, that you can get the Google Play App Store on a Chrome OS device. And this is, I'll admit this is going to change things, because not until I can't think of anything that really has as much software, good software, as Android does, next to Windows. Like Windows, why is Windows still the most popular, OS used? Is because it has all the great software. Right. And I mean, people would argue against that. Oh, it doesn't have good software. Whatever. Okay. It has Photoshop. It has gaming. If you want to do gaming, you still want it. Windows is still the place to get some very exclusive matters, that are important in all of this. But anyway, Android is the system that you could directly compare it to where maybe it has enough, maybe it matches up as far as like what it offers. In fact, a lot of that software on Android is also Microsoft software, like Skype and whatever else. So this is interesting because really Chrome OS with the Google Play Store could become, in my opinion, like that could actually take the seat away from Windows. I don't think it's a good idea because, you're still going to be, I don't know, there's still issues with that because apps are very locked down as to where, software, more traditional software on a desktop, you have a lot more options with, in my opinion. So I don't think that this is such a great thing, but I mean, it's happening. I mean, what do you think about this, Stephanie?
I don't know. I don't have much of an opinion about it.
Well, I mean, you have a Chromebook.
I do. Yeah. And I like Windows and Android. I don't like Mac. That's what I think. I hate Apple. I don't like their products. I won't use them. I just refuse. Sorry.
No, fair enough. I'm in the same boat. I'm just not I'm not that kind of guy. There was a time where I was really into Apple, but then they went to using Intel chips and I was like, well, then fuck, I'll just use a PC. But I mean, the one thing that you do on we had to put Crouton on your Chromebook. So this is
so that it could run Audacity because that's what I use every day for my work. Everything, right. All the time.
Yeah, so you can run Linux and Chrome OS in parallel, and that way you could run Audacity. Now, admittedly, the App Store, coming to Chrome OS isn't going to give you Audacity on there. So I can see where that wouldn't shift much for you.
Yep.
But I do think like that this is really going to be kind of a big deal to have this. Where it's Chrome OS and where you have the Google Play Store. And I think what you're going to find out, the first responses that I heard to this were people like, oh yeah, I can't wait to use Instagram on a laptop. And that's what's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't really excite me.
No, and I understand that. And but I also understand why it excites them. But here's the interesting thing with this is that I wonder if this is going to kill the phone. Because the whole point of the smartphone, I mean, it's the portability and whatever, but now laptops are so portable. I mean, shit, I'm doing this podcast on a laptop that gets 16 hours. I mean, that's better. I get better battery life out of my laptop than I do out of my phone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, straight up. And I can do a whole hell of a lot more with my laptop than I can with my phone.
It's only been like 10 years that we've been so attached to our phones that it's been an extension of ourselves. I mean, that could change. It doesn't mean that it'll be that way forever. Yeah, I mean... Maybe it will kill the phone.
Yeah, I could really see that. I could see that, with having a lot of these apps that are generally a mobile experience because what happens with a lot of these apps, especially social apps, and supposedly that's the whole point of the phone is social of some kind, is that...
Really? It kind of makes people antisocial to me.
Well, it makes when you're in the room with them.
Right.
But what are they doing? They're talking to somebody else 1,000 miles away. I mean, it's not like they're just doing nothing.
So weird.
Sure. But what it's going to allow for is for the professionals to come in. Like the professional creatives or whatever, and they're going to step in. And I kind of feel like, I don't know. I wonder if in some areas of the world, this is going to, in some ways, kill off the phone. I mean, you're still going to have that device that you carry with you all the time, that you make a phone call on. But as far as like it being
nobody makes phone calls anymore.
Sure. Right. But I mean, as far as it being like the most used platform for communicating, I think this might shift it back towards a PC.
Yeah, it might. I mean, what's the big deal about apps, though, anyway? Like...
Snapchat. The big deal is kids. That's it.
I know, but I mean, like, why can't you just use it in a browser? Like, why can't you do the same things that you might do with an app, but, like, do it in a website or a browser? Like, why does it have to be an app?
It doesn't have to be. Yeah. But I think that companies like to create apps because it silos off. It allows them to create their own ecosystem. Like that's my point that's why I say that I still think, Windows is a better bet than like Chrome OS is because at least with with Windows, or just with desktop software. I shouldn't say Windows. With desktop software in general, you can do a whole lot more. You know, you, the user, can take control. As to where with an app, not so. I mean, why does Google push the YouTube app so much? Because you can't use ad blockers on it, largely. And, all the other things like downloading videos and all this different stuff you can't do within an app because the app has control of the code. As to where in a web browser, well, you got to play ball with the web browser, goes, right? And then kind of anything goes. It's more of an open platform. So that's why people like the app. And so I could envision a future where Chrome OS becomes the single most used, and I'm not saying that I like it. I understand it. Like, I've promoted it in the past on Sovryn Tech, because it's a very secure platform, and that's still true. But I could see a future where Chrome OS becomes the main desktop OS that people use, especially when, some services are going to websites like Photoshop, or all of Adobe stuff and all that. Anyway, all right. How are we doing on time here? Holy shit, we've done a lot of show already. And I still have a lot of random access. Let's skip ahead. Here's another little Amazon story here. Comixology. You probably don't know about Comixology,
nope.
Stephanie.
Sure don't.
So it was a company that it really kind of led the way to having a platform where you could buy digitized comic books, Marvel, DC, Valiant, all those guys, Image, IDW, you name it. And it's actually a pretty good service. I've used it in the past. Amazon bought them out like a year and a half ago. Okay. All part of that Amazon World Domination Tour. I mean, it just made sense. Amazon was already doing comics through their Kindle platform anyway. Why not just get the rest of the deals, by having Comixology? Well, now Comixology is offering an unlimited, you don't own it, $6 a month subscription service for comic books. Now, there's not all the details are known exactly as to do you get the latest issues? Probably not, because Marvel Unlimited offers this. And I get it. I can see why people would be, why this would be appealing to a lot of people. Particularly with comic books. I mean, myself as a comic book reader, yeah, I keep my comics, but most of them I read once and then I never read them again. It's just kind of over after that point.
Right. It's almost like a podcast where it's just okay.
Yeah.
Heard that one.
Yeah, to some degree. But then there's some that are just so magical that you hold on to them because you're going to go back to it. And that's, that's true for podcasts too. I know some series I keep the whole series, and I listen to it over and over again. And I'm, this just goes back to, this is kind of the point, sort of what we were talking about, with Apple Music or with iTunes, Music Match and all that, where the guy lost all of his music and everything. This really drives more of the point home that eventually you are going to just pay a fee to access, a bunch of stuff, and you will never actually own anything.
Yeah.
Not that
that's what they want.
Well, that's what a lot of companies want. Yeah. I mean, because then you're hooked. You're literally hooked because you cannot walk away. You're going to have to use it. If you want access to the stuff, you're going to have it.
Yeah, totally.
And comic books are kind of a unique situation because there isn't I don't know of the service out there. Maybe iBooks does this and I don't know it, but there isn't the service out there that allows you to buy a digital comic and then you get to keep it and you can transfer it around on hard drives and do whatever you want with it. I torrent comic books. I have, make no bones about that, but I do that not because, I'm not willing to spend money on comic books. It's because it's the only way I can own it in a digitized fashion. And it's strange that there's no really good way for me to do it otherwise.
Yeah. So I don't know about this because I don't read comics, but
sure.
What do they have a format that they come in that's you can only view it in certain comic book reader apps or whatever?
So when you torrent it,
is it like a Kindle book basically?
Yeah, when you torrent it, there is that format. There's a .cbr, .cbz, which really they're just rar zips.
Okay.
But, say you buy a book on Kindle, right?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be able to do whatever you want with that book. It has DRM built into it.
Right.
Okay. And now with a service like Comixology, you pretty much, unless you have the app, then you could download it. And maybe you could find it on the phone, but usually it's all DRM'd and it's protected and you can't do, much with it. It's a weird space that is really kind of skipped. this whole idea of you being able to own it digitally. So I don't know that this is going to create a major change, but I'm a little concerned about it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is different. I mean, I think people who grew up wanting to get like the first edition maybe of certain comics or like collecting them, because that was like a big thing, right? To collect comics and to have like first editions and
I mean that definitely died off.
Plastic sleeve and
right. I mean that was a boom. That was a bubble, I should say. That eventually popped. It's rather famously known. People used to think that they were going to be able to retire on their comic book collections. But
that's kind of too bad that you couldn't.
Yeah, but I mean, that didn't happen, at all. And I like digitized comics because, I mean, comic books are kind of unwieldy. I mean, like they take up a ton of space, and they are somewhat fragile. And so, digitized form is great. And like web comics are really cool. All this stuff is really cool. I worry, it just falls more to that. You're never going to actually, have any possessions anymore. You're just going to pay a fee.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hear that concern, and I feel mixed about it too.
Sure.
But the real thing I see that's problematic is when you're into comic books, it's likely that you're a nerd, right?
Yes, this is true.
And where do nerd friends at their school usually? So where do they go to meet other nerds that they could become friends with? To the comic book store.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you know what?
Now there is no comic book store. You get your comics online.
Yeah. Good job, because we're going to talk. You actually did a great segue into our main story for this week.
I didn't even know it was a segue.
Yeah. You hit it. But this is an actual problem. In fact, I remember talking about this on Sovereign Tech years ago. But I think what was it? GameStop bought ThinkGeek, the website, thinkgeek.com.
Okay. Yeah.
And I had said, boy, it'd be wonderful if GameStop put like ThinkGeek stuff into their physical stores, and they just turn their stores, because there's GameStops everywhere, even though, hardware and, physical copies of games are in decline. It'd be great if they turned it into meeting places.
Yeah, because ThinkGeek stuff is really cool. And you could bond with other people who like that stuff.
Yeah, and just make a hangout.
The same sense of humor as you and be a nerd, yeah.
Right. Just make some kind of a hangout. That would be really cool. And that's something that is kind of missing. I'm kind of hoping virtual reality could solve this.
It's just not the same, though.
Well, not yet.
Yeah.
I know you're skeptical.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. That's something that needs to be. However, there's the potential that sort of thing can kind of go too far. Now, before we go into our main story, there's a video, Stephanie, that you need to watch.
Oh, that's right.
And
it doesn't. You told me about this.
Yeah, Sovereign Tech listeners, I'll put the video into the show notes, but I apologize. It wouldn't make any sense to just play an audio. So, with the magic of podcasting, we're going to disappear here for a second, and then you won't even know that we're gone. Let's watch this little video.
This is Apple's new flagship San Francisco retail space.
This is the next generation of Apple retail.
Apple is celebrating the 15th anniversary of its retail stores, and to celebrate, they're giving us a look at this one, which they're calling the future of retail. But you don't enter the future through doors like this. You come through doors like these. These massive sheets of glass open to a new indoor-outdoor feel, a design language that will be integrated into new stores around the globe. Apple's retail aesthetic has long been as clean as a space station, but now there are indoor trees and soon a greenery-filled public courtyard. The hangar-sized doors slide open 40 feet. That's wide enough for Apple to sell things much larger than phones and laptops, like, say, a car maybe. At the new stores, designed by architects Foster & Partners, products and accessories are still displayed with the sort of precise design and care that we've come to expect from Apple, but there are new touches. or no touches, as it were. A wave of a hand opens power and connectivity ports at tables. Stores will now be staffed with not only geniuses, but also creative pros, ready to help with music and design questions, or to assist with headphones or camera accessories. And there's no more Genius Bar.
You know, sometimes having to get your phone fixed is like going to the dentist. And so we said, how do we make it the most calming, the most inviting environment?
Customers will now get their Apple hardware serviced in the tree-lined Genius Grove. This main second-floor space with views over San Francisco's Union Square is called The Forum and will host musical performances and talks by photographers and app developers.
Very few companies would take 20% of their real estate in a very expensive store and dedicate it simply to educating, to entertaining, and to helping small entrepreneurs.
Apple, perhaps better than any other tech company, has long understood the importance of presentation, touch, and service in the physical retail space. The company wants the new stores to be places where people choose to just come and hang out at the weekend. So, get there early for a seat in the Genius Grove.
Actually, you know what? The video was I think the audio was enough of explainer that we'll have that in the show.
Yeah.
So anyway, so as you just heard, Apple has their Apple stores, which are very popular. They are expanding them into these massive buildings with giant glass doors. And I mean, these glass doors look like something out of a hangar. Big enough to put
an airplane through.
Yeah, they really look like a hangar. And they're going to have trees in there and all this stuff. But there's this new, consumer space. What are your first thoughts on when you see this, Stephanie? I don't want to, spoil it with mine, but what are yours?
So it is incredibly, it strikes me as incredibly pretentious.
That's the first word I thought too, but keep going.
Well, that's why great minds think alike, Brian.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I don't understand why they would go through this redesign, unless maybe they wanted to put in like cars eventually, which they're setting up for, it looks like. But like, I've heard that Apple stores are the most profitable per square foot, which is a measure that's used in retail, right? Like per square foot, how much sales does it generate? And I've heard that Apple stores are actually the highest dollar of that figure. So why would they mess with success? Why completely change things when they're already doing so well with their sales? I just don't get it. And they said, like, the woman was saying in this video, like, oh, what other company would dedicate 20% of their space to just entertaining and educating people? We want it to be somewhere where people just hang out on the weekends, even if they're not buying anything. And it's just like, oh, seriously? What do they think? There's some college or something now? Are we going to Apple University? That is just so weird. Like, What the fuck?
So now...
Why are they doing that?
Right. Now, you did not know what the video was that I was going to show you?
I hadn't seen it. I just watched it for the first time.
We did not talk about I did not tell you what you were going to be seeing, for the main story or what it was going to be. None of this was covered. But you hit, I mean, like your thoughts are exactly the same thought that I had, like all the way around. Like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, what the hell are they doing?
Right.
I don't understand
now,
it.
Like you said, they are the most profitable per square foot. I think the case could be made they may also be the most expensive store per square foot.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Yeah, in fact, I have a great friend that I used to work with at a previous tech company, and I'll just say, VV, here's to you, baby. He knows who I'm talking about. And he works out of Pennsylvania, where they make like a lot of the glass. They do a lot of the laser work and everything, to make all this stuff, look as good as it does. And I mean, the money he makes and the money that Apple spends.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Now, is this all like, is this some kind of marketing? Because, say wherever you see these Apple stores. Now, I don't know if they're going to do this. Obviously, they probably can't do this to ones like that are in a mall or something, but I don't know,
they might try.
Yeah. But it's weird. Like in a standalone, store, I mean, I could get the marketing point that, wow, look inside there, you can see the whole future. Like they want everything to be glass. They want everybody to see what's going on in there.
They had wood headphones. Like,
oh yeah,
it's so pretentious. Like,
yeah, it's pretentious as fuck. And what's crazy is, look, Apple's a fucking tech company. They're not.
They're not an interior design company, right? They're acting like
at least they shouldn't be. They're not a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I know people want them to be.
People think they are, yeah.
But they're not. It's just a fucking tech company that would have tanked if Microsoft didn't save their ass, if Bill Gates didn't save their ass in the 90s. I mean, like,
maybe they're trying to make it so that people are happy when their phones break and their Apple devices break and they have to go to the Apple store.
To a piece, I don't like, but it's weird. Like, people watch this video. Break. I mean, like, you're sitting around in these trees, and I mean, I'm just waiting for the day when there's going to be like an interior waterfall, and there's going to be little, cockatoos flying around.
Be doing their Apple feng shui or some shit like that.
Like, this is really creepy.
Yeah.
Because this is, and you know what it really shows off to me?
Silicon Valley, the mindset of Silicon Valley.
Well, yeah, it's definitely the mindset of Silicon Valley. But I've talked about how I said, look, Google, Larry Page straight up admitted that he's going to build cities. I've talked about how these companies, and I'm not the only one who said this, are veritable nations, of their own.
Yeah.
And like, this is them building really, these are countries within countries.
So yeah, what they did basically was they even said this in the video that their aesthetic was previously like space stations.
Right.
And then they basically took a space station and they added like some trees and stuff that's supposed to look natural, but like way more controlled and way more like human made.
Yeah.
But like with some natural elements to make it look like it's natural. So yeah, I would not be surprised if they are trying to design some kind of futuristic city or something.
Yeah, this is lifestyle design. And this is, folks, they make smartphones and laptops and computers. That's all they do. Everything, what you do with those things, they're just tools. That's up to you.
It's not helping their reputation for being a culty company either, right?
That's
they want people to hang out at the store on the weekends.
It's a goddamn church.
It is a church, yeah. Thank you for saying that, because that helped me put my finger on exactly what I found so weird about that, right? Like,
yeah, this is very cult-like.
Yeah.
Supposedly, if you call something a cult, they can sue you. So it's very cult-like.
I think that's just Scientology that does that, right?
Maybe. But, well, how is this any different than Scientology? I mean, holy shit. Like, I'm in awe.
Yeah.
I cannot believe. And what's worse is Microsoft's probably going to copy them. Who knows who else is going to copy them, in all this. I mean, it's just super, super weird. And it looks like a temple. It really bullshit.
Does. It looks like some kind of a temple, yeah.
Yeah, it's temple to stuff. And I mean, and it's so perfect too, because, like with your iPhone, like I love this, what was it, the Error 53 story, where if you took your phone to like a third-party vendor or something like that. I mean, this is also that. Apple is killing not the third-party vendor, the third-party repairman.
Oh,
Apple
right.
is killing the third-party, repairman, which that sucks too. I used to love going to the TV repair guy because he'd actually teach me something instead of just acting like a pretentious fuck, calling himself a genius and saying, I'll just take that in the back and fix it for you, buddy. Don't you worry about it. I could learn shit from people, 20 years ago.
Right. It's like
when I go to a repair shop.
You have a spiritual problem, you have to take it to the priest, and they won't tell you any information that might enlighten you. They're just like, here, I fixed it for you.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. There is an absolute lack of like all these clean lines and all this stuff. Look, if I was creating a temple to technology, I want you to see every nut and bolt, every wire, every piece of silicon. I mean, I want you to see the whole thing. I want you to know the process.
Right.
I want you to know how it goes down.
They want to educate you about everything except like how their technology works. They want to educate you about the things that they want to educate you about, but nothing else, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is becoming a religion. Like I feel like it. I mean, I'm being a little hyperbolic.
Yeah,
but
seeing that video, it definitely smacks of religion. Yeah.
Yeah, because how does all this stuff work? Well, it's just like God. It's magic.
Yeah, you can't know.
That's in their own marketing line. It's magic. Don't worry about it. You don't need to know how that shit works. And it's like, yeah, okay, I don't need to know how electricity works to turn on a light switch. But that is by choice. You could go and find out. As to where with Apple, a lot of this stuff, you are not allowed to figure that out. I mean, the whole thing just rubs me so wrong. Do you have any other thoughts on it?
No, you summed it up.
Yeah.
It's creepy. It's weird. I wouldn't want to go there, but I hate Apple anyway. I don't use their products. So
yeah. Now, there was another company called Razer, and this is where things get kind of strange. They also did their own store, which was somewhat similar.
Who's Razer?
Razer, R-A-Z-E-R. Okay. They are, if you're not a gamer, you don't know who they are.
That's why I don't know who they are.
Which is fine. That's totally fine. But they are another one of these cult companies. Like, people get razor tattoos. It's like this triangle symbol thing. And they make mostly gaming stuff. And honestly, a lot of their equipment, especially in recent years, sucks. Like, it's really, really shitty.
What's their appeal? Why do people like them?
For a time, like, it did look cool. Like, they treated gaming as being cool when gaming at the time was, for dweebs and for, people that...
Great word.
For people that were socially awkward and whatever. So they really attached to that. And then it just turned into another Apple. So many companies are doing this, and I think it's fucking creepy. I do not think it's the grandeur of capitalism. All right, something with these tech companies is that, everybody has Apple Pay, they have Android Pay, Samsung Pay, blah, 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 whatever. You can't trust any of these things to last. I mean, one of the Apple technologies that I used to really love was Apple Talk. That's long dead. You just can't count on it. But if you want to perhaps put your money into something that will last, I would recommend precious metals.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you can convert Bitcoin into precious metals.
That's right. I mean, you can be...
Roberts & Roberts Brokerage.
Yeah, it's this perfect melding of the ancient and the cutting edge.
Indeed.
At Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. And I mean that. And Tim Fry, he is the best. He is just a great guy.
I did that, and we're not just saying that. I've used Roberts & Roberts. I've bought precious metals with Bitcoin from Tim, and literally, I bought it at 5 o'clock one day. It was there by 10 a.m. the next day.
Literally, yeah.
It was amazing.
Faster than Amazon serves New Hampshire by a long shot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're based out of Pasadena, Florida, so just picture that.
No, not Pasadena. Pensacola.
Oh, Pensacola. Why did I say Pasadena?
Because we're thinking of California.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, yes, thank you. Pensacola. They're based out of... If I ever said Pasadena before in that ad, I apologize. I know Pensacola. Wings of gold, baby. Anyway, yes, go to Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. They take Bitcoin, they buy, and they'll sell, they will buy... precious metals from you. Yeah, you can go the other way. You can go both ways. Isn't that wonderful? But I mean, and they are Bitcoin preferred, no doubt about it. Anyway, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage.
You gotta just try it.
Yeah,
do a little order. Buy a little bit of silver with Bitcoin and see how cool it is, and you want to do it again.
Feel it in your hands. Gold.zog.ninja. That's gold.zog.ninja. All right, let's get back to some sovereign tech. Thanks, Stephanie.
Pixel, I'm being chased by assassin bots. I need an exit. Pixel!
Brian Sovryn, come with me if you want to leave.
Who are you?
I'm Adelaide. I'll tell you more later. Get in the vehicle.
Get in a car with a scantily clad and beautiful woman? Guess it's been my first choice before. Let's go.
First choice.
It is time for First Choice, where I cover the stories that get sent in to Sovereign Tech through the various channels available. Of course, you can go to contact.zog.ninja to find all of those. And of course, I'm joined by Hadley herself.
I almost forgot about good old Hadley.
Yeah.
Aww, she's so sweet.
She's great. And boy, a lot of people are asking, okay, like, where does the name like Hadley come from? Is it some kind of
another
acronym or something like that?
Obscure Brian Sovereign joke.
Incredibly obscure.
Folks, let me give you a clue. If you're ever listening to something Brian says and he makes a reference that you don't understand, he does it all the fucking time and he never explains it. And he's just hoping against hope that someone will get his obscure references.
Someone somewhere is going to know.
But most people won't have a freaking clue. So you have to ask him to explain because he doesn't remember that usually.
Yeah. And I was just about to tell people where Hadley comes from.
Okay.
Hadley the android.
Yeah,
but
go, please.
No, I'm not going to. So.
Okay. Did I ruin it for it? I'm so sorry. Oh, fuck.
Maybe next week.
Yeah, okay, Brian.
Yes.
Where does Hadley come from? I really want to know.
You're going to have to do more than that if you want to get... I mean,
Brian,
you have
let me
ways
get under
of...
the table. Here, let me take off my headphones.
All right. Oh, here we go. All right. This is live.
Brian, where does Hadley come from?
All right. Wow. So there's a book. There's a French book, science fiction book from the 19th century called Tomorrow's Eve. And it is one of the first times that an android, not the first time an android's ever mentioned, but one of the first times one's ever written about. And the android in the book, her name, and it is her name is Hadley. And that's what is a reference to that. It's a tremendous read. You can get it in English. It is not available in ebook format, so you're going to have to buy the good old paper copy. But just an amazing little piece of French work there. And boy, that was another little amazing piece of French work. All right, so let's get into our story. This is kind of an amalgamation of 3 stories. And what I really want to talk about is the future of copyright.
Oh, okay.
Because some crazy shit's going on. And there's 3 specific stories. Each of them kind of have a different angle that they're getting attacked from. But I think all of them, and, letting the cat out of the bag, all of them showed the bullshit that copyright is. But for starters, there is the Star Trek Axanar film, which I don't know if I showed you the trailer for that or not, Stephanie, but this is a really, really well done Star Trek movie. I mean, and we've certainly seen some well done Star Trek film, independent, quote unquote fan films, though I wouldn't degrade them by calling them that. And Axanar was a Star Trek movie that it went through a Kickstarter fund, made it made over $500,000.
That's right.
Yeah. And there was a case, Paramount started saying they were taking him to court. They were going to say, you cannot be making this. And supposedly
this is an unauthorized Star Trek movie.
Right. And, there's a whole story just in that one. In fact, they were even saying because one of the things that they were doing is they were trying to copyright Klingon.
Oh,
because
really?
Because in the case, being forwarded was that, they're using Klingon and that's copyrighted by, by Paramount Pictures or by, whoever, somebody in Star Trek. Because, you have Paramount and you have CBS, 2 separate entities. And that got kind of crazy because
that's crazy. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. And supposedly a lot of people I think Microsoft Bing or the Bing translator, Microsoft Translator, whatever they want to call it. That's the only translating app that can translate Klingon, supposedly, because they paid the money to hold on to the copyright.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's funny. Ridiculous funny. But
it is ridiculous. So, this was insane. And now, admittedly, so this Axanar, the Star Trek Axanar, usually a lot of companies like with Star Wars or with Star Trek or a lot of different, franchise properties, whatever. They don't mind if people make fan films usually. Okay. As long as you don't make any money off of it.
Yeah. They do. They have this weird line that they don't want you to cross of making money from it.
Right. You just can't make money off of doing it, but you go ahead and do it. Now,
well, you can make money accidentally, right?
You can make donations.
You can't be setting out to make it a commercial thing, but you can get donations from it.
Right.
How is that much different? I don't know.
Yeah. So, this is where I think Axanar
Why would you make a movie and not expect to make money off of it or not try?
Well, some people do it for the passion or they do it for donations.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just if you're going to make a movie,
mm-hmm.
And you're going to make it as good as you can, why would you not want to make money? Anyway, yeah.
There's reasons.
Yeah.
I would make Star Trek porn and I would gladly do it without making money.
But wouldn't you like to make money off of it if
sure.
you could?
I'd love to get paid for it.
That was really my point. I think anyone would prefer if it were absent these restrictions. I think you would see a lot more people wanting to make money off of their movies.
Sure. Yes. But, at the same time I would do some of these kind of things for free. So you have, there's other, was Star Trek Renegades, Star Trek Continues, both very, very, high end productions that get done. And both of these really, I feel, why didn't they get attacked? Because they've been around a lot longer than Star Trek Axanar had. And I think the situation here with Axanar was that what happened is with all the Kickstarter funds that they made, because Star Trek Continues has done very well on Kickstarter as well. So has Renegade, either on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, whatever, through crowdfunding. I think what happened with Axanar is that they came out and said, we're going to create a whole production company. We're going to make Axanar Productions, and we're not just going to do Star Trek. And I think that's where Paramount jumped in and said, oh, wait a second, this is not okay. Because you are building this house, effectively, this production house, on our brand.
Didn't it have something to do with like wasn't the person who started it like a lawyer or something?
Yes. Well, the main guy who's behind it is a lawyer. So.
Okay, so that was my theory, was that he actually wanted to get sued because it would be great publicity for his thing. And that getting sued was like he baited them, like he wanted to get sued.
Maybe. But, either way, I think the reason that Paramount, who does care about copyright, of course I don't, but I think the reason they started, getting all in a tizzy is because this would set a precedent to where you could make a fan film that people would want, and then you could end up creating a whole business, outside of making that fan film.
Right.
I'm not saying I agree with that's okay. I'm just saying that I think that that's what their mindset was. That's my only guess on that, because otherwise I don't understand why not go after Star Trek Continues. Why not go after Star Trek Renegades? Now, it's ironic because, and there's other stories I want to get to about copyright. It's ironic because Axanar, like the look, the acting, and they got big time actors, Richard Hatch. They got the guy that played General Martok. They got all these different people, to be in it. I think Paramount and CBS were probably a little worried that fans are making better shit than what they make.
Definitely. They don't want that.
Right. Yeah. Because then they become like, well, why do we even hold on to this property anymore? Because, nobody watches our productions of it. Everybody likes what the fans make. And it's true. They did, Axanar certainly looked better than just about anything, coming out. Thankfully, the recent trailer for Star Trek Beyond hopefully makes that movie looks a little more interesting now. But now what happened is, and I don't think, speaking of Star Trek Beyond, I don't find this to be coincidental that J.J. Abrams and the director of Star Trek Beyond came out and said, we talked to Paramount and we said, drop this lawsuit. We convinced them and said, you don't want to do this. You don't want to handle it this way. Let this movie get made. Drop this lawsuit right now. And they said within a few weeks it will be dropped. Now, so this gets funny because obviously I could see this as being this is a PR stunt to make Star Trek look good because, oh yeah, we will let fans, do their thing. This makes J.J. Abrams, this makes all kinds of people look good.
Yep.
So there's that angle to it. But then they said it'll be a few weeks before we cancel it. I'm a little worried about that.
What?
Because that means...
What? Why would they do that?
Yeah, why wait a few weeks? Just drop it right now. And so I'm a little worried...
They have time to change their mind? That just looks...
Well, that's the thing,
shady.
is that a few weeks from now, it will be... If they wait a few weeks, it'll be after Star Trek Beyond is in theaters.
Yeah.
And then they could make their big opening weekend money, and then they can just, renege on the whole thing and say, oh, no, we're still going after Axanar. This is insane.
That looks so bad, yeah.
It does. And so you have that going on. So now fan films to some degree are getting attacked, even though, like I said, this fan production was turning into a production house. And I think that was the concern, is that, hey, you used our franchise to build up your name. Well, do you have a response to that? How do you feel about that?
Well, I was just thinking, like, let them have the Klingons. Come on. They can make movies about Klingons.
Yeah, it's so crazy that...
It's not even about the Enterprise or anything.
Right. No, it has to do with a completely different situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have the Klingons.
Yeah. It is still Starfleet, but yeah, there are some prominent Klingons in it and yada, yada. So you have that one. And again, I get it. I think I understand why Paramount did it. I still think it's bullshit. I really think it comes down to...
You understand it in the paradigm of the system.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What they really should have done is they should have hired these guys.
Yeah.
That's what they should have done. It's
right.
the entire production team for Axanar, we want you because obviously you've got what it takes, or you know what you're doing.
Yeah, why don't they make some more movies? You know what I mean? Like part of the reason fan films exist, and even like very professional, good quality fan films, is because the demand is not being satisfied by Paramount.
Right. Yeah, and it's not. The last, heavy duty Star Trek, outside of the movies that we've had was 2005 when Enterprise got canceled.
Yeah, there's not been... I need my fix.
Same here.
Why? It's been a decade.
Damn straight. And, I think it really shows what copyright is really all about. Copyright is not... Yes, it's about protecting an idea. Like, that's what a lot of people want to claim. But I think it's really about protecting jobs. I think Hollywood is scared to shit, over the fact that the average person now can get a nice 4K or 1080p camera, and they can do full-on productions that rival anything that's done in Hollywood. And they're sweating. They're sweating about that fact.
I can speak to that. I mean, I see it all the time with voice acting, right? Because there's, there's an explosion of non-union voice actors that work on the internet. Like me, I'm not in SAG-AFTRA.
Right.
I mean, I think it would be great to be in the union because, not that I really am a huge fan of unions, but like it means you've attained a certain level of professional prowess, like you have to be good, right?
Right.
To make it into the union, right? You have to be a good actor. And I'm not really an actor exactly. I wasn't trained in acting or anything like that, so I'm sure I still have a long way to go. But I mean, definitely there are union actors who are very grumpy and upset about the prevalence of non-union voice actors online, and some even use stuff where you use words and phrases like taking our jobs.
Yeah. Well, I think that's
they'll work for cheaper, they're undercutting us.
Right. I think that's what it comes down to. I don't think it's not piracy. It's not any of this shit. It's just that they are terrified that that fans can make better shit, better stuff better productions than Hollywood can. Because Hollywood has just these, crazy amount of rules that they have to follow, and fans won't bother to follow that. So now I want to switch it up because this is an interesting point in copyright, and this is Fox, as in the television network, stole a game clip, used it in an episode of Family Guy, and then DMCA'd it, or DMCA'd the original. So let me read a little bit about this.
Oh,
okay.
No. Oh,
here we go.
No, they didn't.
This week's episode of Family Guy included a clip from 1980s Nintendo, or from a 1980s Nintendo video game, Double Dribble, which is a basketball game, is really cool, showing a glitch to get a free 3-point goal. Fox obtained the clip from YouTube. So somebody was playing this.
Okay.
Just a person, regular gamer, was playing this. He uploaded the footage of him playing it on YouTube. Okay. And where it had been sitting since it was first uploaded in 2009. So this had been up there since 2009. Shortly after Fox used this in Family Guy, Fox contacted YouTube and said, take down the original game footage that they took from somebody else. And YouTube took it down.
Oh my God. What a bunch of shit. That is so shitty.
Yeah. Like, why even do that? Like, what moron was on top of this? I don't even understand. Like, how can you do that? How can you say that, okay, so, I'm playing a game of Tetris. I have a really great game and I show it off to the world, but then Hollywood can just, or whatever. And I use these terms, Hollywood. Yeah, I know sometimes they film in Vancouver or they do it elsewhere.
Did they ever tell the person, so the original guy that put the video on YouTube, did they ever tell him like, hey, we're using your clip in our show? Or
No, they just took it.
He just got a takedown notice one day.
They took it. They put it into...
After 7 years of peace.
And the guy, as I understand it, the guy saw it and was like, oh, wow, this is incredible. And then Fox contacts YouTube and says, take it down. And again, I think this kind of dovetails in with what's going on with Axonar, is that there was the chance that they were going to make a big deal out of this guy. This guy was going to get some fame.
Yeah.
Okay,
They don't want it.
They are. I mean, Hollywood's siloing itself as much as Silicon Valley is, to where you got to work with us. You've got to be, you got to be in our boys club. And all of this. It's so rare that anybody, that somebody that isn't within their purview, that doesn't have their say so, gets to make it big.
Yeah.
I mean, and if they do, then they start to rope them in. But I mean, can you even imagine the ethical or legal case for this? Because I mean, when you post stuff on YouTube,
it defies logic. Yeah.
Right. Now, what's interesting, of course, Google's covered, because Google says that, you can do whatever you want on our services, but you can't take any legal recourse against us if something gets taken from
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if
somebody uses your stuff. Yeah.
If somebody uses your stuff and, you want to go after them, you can't go after Google. So Google just doesn't care. Like, they're not taking it. It doesn't appear they're taking any stance. And in fact, they responded to Fox, and said, okay, fine, we'll take the video down. I mean, that is unbelievable.
They just take down anything, though. They don't look into those takedown claims. They take down first and ask questions later.
Yeah. And
if they get a request, they'll take it down.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I mean, and granted, I've made the case before. It's like, look, it's YouTube. It's a service for free. What do you want? You know, the thing is that this is so ass backwards of how the system's supposed to work.
It really is.
With the copyright. That I'm totally confused. Now, Nintendo is also, here's the third story in all of this. I mean, this is it's a triple header of just copyright really nonsense. Nintendo is now saying that like anybody, and this is going to end up shooting themselves in the foot, because now Nintendo is saying that they want to, so a very popular thing to do right now is to stream games and to show like playthroughs and all this stuff of video games. Like,
you mean for people want to watch a video of like a girl playing a game or something?
Yeah. Or on YouTube, you can show your great running time through Super Mario Brothers or something, and you can post that up on YouTube. Now, Nintendo is going after people doing that.
Oh, seriously?
And they're not saying that they want them to take it down. What they want to do is they want exclusive advertising rights. That if you are going to play one of their games online and you're going to show that video, if you're going to show the video online of you playing the game, not playing the game online, you need to run an ad before and after. Like there's all these kinds of crazy demands going on.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like, I guess at least they're not telling them to take it down, but like, where do you, like, how does that all happen?
Yeah,
I mean,
good luck with that. That's like telling a wild animal you have to, like, it has to behave and do stuff.
Yeah.
Like, good luck getting people to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo, as much as I love the company, I mean, it's really, as far as copyrights go, as far as IP goes, intellectual property, they've been one of the worst since the beginning of the internet. They've taken down what they call ROM sites, which is where you could download the games and play them on an emulator on your computer or whatever. I mean, they've just been really, really bad about all that. So this isn't outlandish of them to do, but how are you going to enforce this? And I mean, Stephanie,
good question.
Right. I mean, if, I'd love to hear from you. Like, if you were to tell somebody, why is copyright insane? Like, why is it unethical, perhaps? Like, what would you say to them?
Oh boy, that's a huge thing. Because ideas are not really the same as physical property.
Mm-hmm.
They're not something that
there's not a scarcity of ideas.
There's not something that if you own an idea, it excludes someone else from having control over it either. You know what I mean? Like if you own a car, that's your car. You can exclude other people from using it, because one of the reasons being that if someone else were to drive your car when you wanted to drive it, that would be a problem. Or if someone else were to use your car and damage it, when you still wanted to use it, that would be a problem. That would be depriving you of something.
Right.
Whereas with an idea, someone else can use the idea and it wouldn't damage the idea or deprive you of anything.
Yeah, though some would say of money. But
that's not a guarantee either.
No, right. Because there's no guarantee you're going to make money off of your idea in the first place. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, for me, and this goes to show particularly with the Nintendo case, is that it's unethical just straight up based upon the fact you would have to have a surveillance state to enforce copyright. For Nintendo to do what it wants to do, it's going to have to see everything everywhere.
Yeah,
for that to matter.
Point, definitely.
Yeah, I mean that's the real crux for me with copyright. I know some people talk about, well, there's different ways that we could do it and all that. Well, it's unethical from the get-go.
Are you tired of theorists talking about the free market as a cure-all for every problem without firsthand experience of how the market actually works?
Well, the Free Coast Financial Radio app gives you wall-to-wall shows by hosts who not only understand the market,
but tell you how they make money in a variety of investment and artistic endeavors.
The Free Coast Financial Radio app for Android is 24/7 streaming audio content on finance, liberty, and technology from the coastal region of New Hampshire.
Because there's a lot more to New Hampshire than just Keene. Free Coast Financial Radio. Useful information, compelling personalities, and superior audio quality.
The Free Coast Financial Radio app is covered by the BIPCOT No-Gov license.
Go on the Google Play Store
or on Amazon
and search Free Coast, all one word.
And please rate and review.
Worms.
Whoa, hey, you want to slow down?
I don't do slow. I move fast.
Okay, well, so you're French.
Everyone in the future speaks French.
Wait. The future?
From 2099, permanent autonomous zone, Osiris-1. You've been there.
Oh, this isn't happening. It only thinks it's happening. How do I know you're from Osiris-1?
RGP fingerprint Omega 746566666.
Okay, you're legit. Hey, really, be careful. You drive like you're playing a video game.
That is how you programmed me. Game talk.
It is time for Game Talk, where I cover games. I talk about games, and I love talking.
We just talk about games.
Yeah, kind of. After a fashion, it's sort of a nice dovetail. But this is a game. We're going to talk about the game of life now.
Oh, baby.
Or maybe about the game of the creation of life. Not that that's what sex solely evolved for. It co-evolved as a social lubricant. So, pun intended.
Really, Brian? I had no idea. I've never heard you talk about that before.
I know. That's a big reveal for Sovryn Tech. But anyway, I want to talk about this game, or maybe it's more of a gamification, that Pornhub has released recently. And it is the gamification of the act of sex. Absolutely. Pornhub launches...
is this BangFit?
BangFit.
Yeah.
So you can bang to get fit. So this is kind of an exercise, but as much, there's points in all this business, and you play it, and it is the gamification of sex.
Like, okay, do you need any more incentive to have sex? I'm pretty sure it's its own incentive. Maybe people need more of an incentive to get fit and to, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. If you need a point system to encourage you to have sex, well, I don't know.
Maybe nothing's going to encourage you to have sex at that point, right? Like maybe you just don't want to.
Right. So I want to read a little bit about it here, and then I want to break it down with you, Stephanie. We'll do a live demo here on the.
No, I don't think so. The one thing I want to say about BangFit is I saw the logo. You guys have to check out this logo.
Oh, it's awesome.
We'll put a link in the show notes probably.
Yes.
But the first thing I saw when I looked at the logo, I didn't really read it, but it's like this 90s style thing.
80s.
Well, yeah, 80s or early 90s perhaps.
Sure.
Style that you would find on like a sweatshirt, like a workout sweatshirt.
Yeah.
At an athletic club in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And it says BangFit, but it has like a triangle and it has these pastel colors and it has one of those paintbrush strokes.
It's
and
perfect.
It's written in this California font. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, oh my God, is that the Saved by the Bell logo? All I could think of was Saved by the Bell. And I think it might be because Saved by the Bell took place at Bayside High School. And it might be because the BangFit looks kind of like Bayside.
Well, there's a whole conspiracy around.
I know. What is the
Saved by
the Bell conspiracy? I've never looked into it.
We're not going into it right now.
Oh, damn it.
So another episode, perhaps. But anyway, with BangFit, I agree. I thought the logo was fantastic. That alone was reason enough for me to get excited about it. But let's read here from TechCrunch. In seemingly bizarre news out of the porn industry, Pornhub is launching a new fitness system, wearable plus workout videos, called BangFit. As its name suggests, it helps you bang to get fit. Here's how it works. Users can join the game at this website, which is bang.fit, or if you're on your mobile device, it's bang.mobi. Don't ask me why, I've already memorized those, which will allow users to then sync the game to their phones. BangFit offers options for 1 player, 2 players, and 3 players. Now, I'm going to stop right there for a second.
That's cool.
I think that's fucking great.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
That it allows for 3 players. And maybe later they'll have like BangFit XL or BangFit Plus that allows for 6 to 8, to play. Like that could get really interesting.
Well, it depends on what the game mechanics are, right?
Right. Yeah. So pretty much, let me read a little bit more.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I do love the fact that it's 3 player. From there, you can choose your sexercise with information about how each position burns calories, man versus woman, over a 30-minute period. That's where the BangFit band comes into play. Users can pop their phone into the BangFit band, which is a belt worn by only one of the players, to measure their success in getting fit while getting busy. For now, Pornhub says the BangFit band is going to be available soon and that the software product is in beta. I tried to pair two phones with the web app and check it out, but the web app failed to recognize one of the two phones as paired. I also can't seem to figure out if this thing supports gay and lesbian couples.
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, I've looked a little bit into this, and the answer is yes. It does. So, anyway, that said, this is a fun marketing stunt for Pornhub. The company has an early foothold in VR and is wont to pull fun tech-related marketing stunts like an emoji porn texting service, which is another thing. But Pornhub VR, we talked about that on Sex and Science Hour.
We did, yeah, we tested it.
Yeah, we fully tested that out, and that was an interesting experience, right? I mean, would you rehash your experience with that quickly?
Sure. I was crossing my eyes with my phone stuck to my face, your phone stuck to my face.
Yep.
And I saw a giant woman coming out of a bathtub,
yep,
acting like she was talking with me on Skype.
Looking at you.
Her boyfriend fucked her.
Right. Yeah, so that was the deal, and it is what it is. I mean, it wasn't like immersive. It was kind of 180 degrees, 190.
I mean, it was okay. I just, I wasn't that super... It's not something I would want to do regularly, but then again, I don't really watch porn regularly anyway, so
yeah,
maybe
so
that's
now,
why.
Right. Now, this is what you do with BangFit. You watch porn.
You have to watch porn.
Like you're watching porn and you're kind of
like
you're sort
talking.
of... No, right. You're sort of mimicking the porn.
Oh.
And, and that's kind of how they keep track.
Exercises to do.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, and there's specific porn, just like with the VR app. Like, it's not every app, you can't watch everything in VR. Mm-hmm. This, yeah, you follow along and it kind of uses the accelerometer in your phone to, based upon thrusts that you do. So if you're going to do a lesbian style, obviously you're going to need some kind of a strap on, which,
well, that's pretty heteronormative, isn't it?
Kind of, unless I didn't see any
there's
grinding
quite
videos.
A bit of thrusting going on, even when you're not using a strap on. Take it from me.
Well, there you go. Heard it from a professional.
You can thrust with your fingers. They always move their hips around too,
Yeah. No, that's true. So, I mean, how do you feel about this? Like, what do you think?
I'm still stuck on the logo, really. Yeah. I don't think this would be something that I would use because I just don't care.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance.
I have other ways of working out that aren't very sexual in nature. So,
right.
And I kind of prefer to keep it separate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that it's just a giant marketing gimmick.
It is. I think it's totally a marketing gimmick.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be fun to try it once, but I mean, I seriously don't think that combining sex and workout together is good for either. You're not going to accomplish either one. It's almost like multitasking.
As someone that has worked out with women in the nude.
Yeah. Who would those women be?
Yeah, well.
I think I have an idea.
Yeah. I can say it's very distracting to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You don't really get sex, but you don't get a good workout either.
Yeah, I mean, sex is a great workout, and obviously you don't need to gamify it. You don't need to connect your phone to it.
When I'm having
just
sex,
get a good sweat.
I don't want to think about how many calories I'm burning,
right.
And I don't want to try to reach goals.
Right.
When I'm working out, I do want to try to reach goals and get a personal record or whatever. But when I'm having sex, no, I just want to focus on the sex.
Yeah,
I don't care how many calories it burns.
See, now here's what I would do. I would switch this up a bit.
Uh-huh.
I would make use of the microphone, even though this would freak people out. And understandably, I would make use of the microphone or maybe even the camera. I would make a Pornhub app that helps you make your own porn or rates the naughty level of what you say.
A dirty talking app. That tells
something
you how good you did. Yeah.
I think that actually an app that taught people perhaps how to, or not taught, I don't know. I'll just say it. That taught people how to talk dirty better, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be very useful.
Yeah.
I can see
does
that.
Does that exist? It probably could exist easily.
If it doesn't, Pornhub, give me a call.
Here's dirty talking in a nutshell. You can narrate what you're doing, right? In a sexy way. You can talk about what you're going to do.
Yes.
And you can talk about what you just did.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, there's phrases you can use, there's names you can use for each other. There's all kinds of things I think that you can add in to dirty talk that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this is just a personal preference.
Sure.
But like when you start getting into the like daddy shit, like that's weird.
Yeah, I don't care
I'm
for
not
that.
into that at
No.
all.
Yeah,
no.
not in the sexual connotation. I don't care for that.
Yeah.
Like I know people that say it's like, oh, I'm the big daddy. You know, I mean, like just saying that they're like the champ or something. Like, and it's like, okay, that's fine. But in the bedroom, yeah, no, it gets strange.
Yeah,
but I could see that. I mean, like if it actually showed you kind of more how to, I don't know, if it was a teaching app. What was that app that taught you how to play with a clit?
OMG, yes.
OMG, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's great. That kind of thing is wonderful.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so BangFit, I don't know. I mean, some people might find it fun. I mean, I'm sure it's worth a few laughs. I mean,
total gimmick.
Here's the best use case for BangFit is if you have never had sex with multiple partners. Like, I think this is because it's 3-player.
Oh,
I think it's a great icebreaker. Like, because it turns it into a little bit of a comedy at first, and then, and then you can actually start having fun.
Okay, but if you're having a threesome, you got enough on your mind. The last thing you want to worry about is how many calories you're burning and connecting your phones to the Bluetooth before you start.
All right. Yeah, no, well, that's true. That could become a pain in the ass. You're dead right about that. But I'm just saying that, like, sometimes, like, I remember listening to guys saying, it's like, well, how do you turn a party like that you don't intend, that nobody's intending to be sexual? Like, how could you make it like into something sexual? Like one of the quote unquote tricks is to like, turn on some porn, and then like start getting people randy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one thing that people do. Alcohol is another.
Right.
It's brought out.
As to where, like, you could say, hey, why don't we try this out? And then like do it as a joke at first, and then who knows where it ends up. I don't know.
Let us know
Bang.fit.
if you have success with that.
Okay, another live read. Hey.
Oh.
Yeah. So for this live read, all I wanted, Stephanie, while you're here, of course, people can find you at smvoice.info.
Yes.
If they want to hire you for voice work. Well, I'm going to just do a little mix. I'm kind of doing a hot take here.
All right.
And you have a ton of, do you have a lot of audiobooks coming out?
I have a ton of audiobooks. I do a couple a month at least. So I'm on audible.com. You can search for me. I'm Stephanie Murphy. You might like some of my Bitcoin books. You might like some of my science books, including Ending Aging, how to end aging in our lifetime.
It's a great read.
And you might like some of my lesbian romance books.
There we go. That's
those.
another thing you could play
French
if you want
lessons.
to. Yeah, before you break out the BangFit.
That's how I got Hadley's voice. I had to practice my French accent.
I love it. So anyway, if you want to check out more about Stephanie, of course, go to smvoice.info or look her up on Audible. And I think that covers it. Let's get back to Sovereign Tech. Pixel says it should be this panel.
We need to hack into the control center to shut down all of those assassin bots.
Well, you're the android. Can't you just jack in?
Oui, but the way I connect is more like a jack off.
Was that a joke?
Hacking is no joke.
Directly connecting certainly beats doing it with the keyboard.
You're notorious for your love of cyber sex.
Okay, now that was a joke. Just get hacking.
A quick hack solves everything. Hacksec.
It is time for Hacksec. Oh, there it is, live.
Hacksec.
Absolutely. Cybersex, that's... Can I share this? Can I talk about
Please.
You and me and cybersex?
Sure.
Or should I not?
Yeah, why not?
Like, I remember the first time, like one of the first.
Never lived that down. Well,
we had cybersex, and oh boy, I mean, I had a great time, but I know you
leave it at that.
Yeah, you certainly expressed
it started
having a great
innocently
time.
enough,
Yeah, the conversation wasn't even going there, and it was just there was a few. I love cybersex.
Yeah, me too. I love it too.
Yeah, I mean the things that you can make happen, and yeah.
I've been doing it for over a decade. And remember AOL Messenger? You used to go on and see who was on your buddy list, and that was online.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, or ICQ was a big one. Used to use that for
Yeah,
that sort of
I never
thing.
quite got into it, but I did. I was on some of those alt mailing lists, like alt dot whatever.
On Usenet?
Alt dot sex dot erotica. Yeah, Usenet. That's
Fuck
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hot. I love Usenet. Big fan. Yeah,
what can I say? I'm pretty special.
You are special. Cybersex, wonderful thing. People do not do it enough. It is still just as, it's like, it's an interactive story. That's really, it's interactive erotica. Like, that's the way I see cybersex as.
Yeah.
And you can write it that way too. I used to, in IRC channels, I used to do it all the fucking time. Like, it was just nuts.
Like in a group chat, or did you individually chat with your
sometimes
or whatever?
It was either or. It was either like, it'd be a because it's easy, and especially in IRC, to make a private chat. And you can make your own room, and you can have your own rules. And you can even, like, I got to the point where I was like making bots that could do certain things when when certain things would activate it. And then you would, but afterwards you'd read the saved log and it'd be the hottest thing you've ever read. Just easy. I love that. Anyway, let's talk about something not so hot, that being drones. How about we switch to that? Because, of course, Hacksec is where we talk about hacking and security. And drones certainly fall under the concern over privacy aspect of this.
Yes.
I've talked about a few times, a few different stories about drones on Sovryn Tech. Recently, there was the case where at a Renaissance fair, I think in Russia, a guy took his spear and lobbed it at a drone and took the drone out.
That was awesome.
It was great. And there's been other cases, like I've talked about how there's microwave jammers for drones that companies are starting to sell and all of this. But what's happening now is there's a case here, and it's out of Ars Technica, and I don't know that I necessarily need to read the story. But there's companies that are like, there's drone stores, like retail stores, starting to crop up. And there's guys making their own drones and all this, and they're going out and they're testing them. And what's happening is, in some parts of the country, the United States, and of course, if you're at a Renaissance fair in Russia, these drones are getting shot down, like literally by guns, and they're being destroyed.
Wow.
And they don't know who exactly to press charges against at certain points, and all of this. And I think it raises a really, really interesting point of conversation. And I really want to hear your thoughts on a lot of this, Stephanie. What do in the common legal framework, in the conventional legal framework that we have, there is a point where you get so high and suddenly it becomes public airspace, or effectively public to citizens of the country.
Okay.
That's the legal situation right now.
What is that point?
It varies. Like, in fact, in New York City, it gets downright strange because you actually pay taxes, I think, like based upon your airspace, not even just on, it all gets very weird.
Huh.
Okay. Because the potential is that the building you live in can go much higher.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a taxing situation, but it's like when you go to sell a building or a house, that gets, airspace gets accounted for. So it's kind of different anywhere. And there's not a lot of really clear-cut cases. There's not a whole clear legal situations that say, okay, what happens when, like the case in this Ars Technica story, they did find the guy who shot down the drone, and the guy didn't get pressed with any charges whatsoever. But I think a lot of people, even people that don't believe in the legal system, anarchists like ourselves or whatever, some of them may feel like, well, you just destroyed property. There needs to be some kind of restitution.
Well, I'm thinking of the Murray Rothbard idea where he said that essentially if you own a piece of land, and then this gets problematic because some people are like, oh, land ownership, it's shit.
Homesteading.
But what he said was that if you own a piece of land, you own a cone going down to the center of the earth underneath that land, and then a cone going up into space above.
A cone.
Or, well, the whole thing would be like a cone with your house in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Where it goes to the center of the earth and then it expands outward like into space.
Like a cylinder going up.
That's kind of problematic. You own a chunk of space that's ever expanding into the universe.
Yeah. How far does that go? Like, do you own the same, point of trajectory on Mars? How does that work?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So, so then theoretically, if somebody's private property crosses into your private property, like if a drone flies into your private property, it could be considered trespassing and you have the right to shoot it down or destroy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and to say nothing of the, for lack of a better word, your right to privacy. Mm-hmm. Is it okay for a camera to just fly overhead, and take pictures of whatever's going on in your backyard, or maybe even in your window, even if it's inadvertent?
Yeah.
Things like this.
Perhaps I think if you want privacy, you should take reasonable steps to ensure it. But then again, what's reasonable, right?
Well, right. That's the thing, is reasonable shooting that drone out of the sky.
Yeah. I think that's pretty reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about the idea of having nets, something that can take it down without perhaps destroying it. Mm-hmm. Or using the microwave jamming. That's another, interesting way of taking something down without destroying it. Mm-hmm. I think this is a real problem. This is going to be something that's really going to be discussed. I mean, when you are walking down the street, of course, you have very little control, and you have no reasonable expectation of privacy when you do that. So, that's understandable, even though there's even precautions you could take then. There's anti-drone clothing, right? That's kind of a big thing. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, that's you're one step ahead of me.
Right. Well, that's kind of a big deal. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm asking you, and please nobody act upon this. This is just someone's opinion. If just a run of the mill, drone, or a lot of people want to get into this argument over quadcopters and drones, saying that quadcopters are not drones, like a quadcopter, which is just this little thing usually made of styrofoam. Mm-hmm. It'll have a camera on it. Yes. And it has four blades.
Yep.
And that's why propellers. That's why they call it a quadcopter. Is significantly different from a military drone, like a Predator drone,
right?
And so people get into this argument of stop calling them drones, because that scares people, and understandably, because, if you're a different skin color, those drones will kill you. And so, so I know there's that argument, but quadcopters and drones, if one is clearly flying overhead, I mean, can you shoot that out of the sky? Where does it become different from an animal, perhaps? Because I don't think anybody would say that you can't, say there's a gopher, eating up your golf course.
Yeah, it's a little pain in the ass. You can trap it with a mousetrap.
Right,
or whatever.
Or something, yeah. Or you could shoot it or blow it up with dynamite, like in Caddyshack.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody, think about it this way, if you own something like a boat or an airplane and you fly it around, you might encounter all kinds of things that could damage it. You don't have any expectation that your thing, your toy is going to be perfectly intact and undamaged if you use it.
Right.
Right. So it's the same thing for a drone. It's a hazard of operating a drone. It could get shot down. A flock of birds could fly into it. It could get shit on by a bird, Yeah. In fact, it probably will. It could fly into a tree. It could fly, all kinds of stuff could happen. So, I mean, I think it's pretty weak if a drone operator, cries foul about somebody taking out a drone in whatever way.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I'm definitely on board with that. I think that especially a drone with a camera and all that, absolutely. There's no I mean, I have the right to, get a camera out of my face, I think.
Yeah.
If I wish to. So not that I'm one for guns. I don't care for that sort of thing. And I'm not one for violence in general. That's why I say I'd much rather have microwave jammers or some kind of net system that can actually, take it down to where it's not damaged as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's fair. To say a lot of that. Maybe people will have different opinions, and of course they can email me and and describe those. But do you think I want to ask this, and I have another point I want to get to, but I want to ask, what is, I don't know, what is people's obsession with videotaping and taking pictures of everything?
That's a good question.
I'm kind of going off left field. But...
To a certain extent, maybe it's just because you can.
Yeah.
I know people want to take pictures of their kids because kids grow up and change so fast.
Right.
They want to have a record of it. I don't know, a lot of us grow up being told that we should document everything just in case we need it. It's almost like hoarding stuff. It's you might need footage of that. It might come in handy at some point, right? We might as well document it. Part part of it's also just a surveillance society. Like, that's our culture now.
Yeah.
It's become normal to know what's going on with everybody at all times, or at least have some record that you could look back at. To a certain extent, we end up documenting a lot of stuff anyway. Like, I don't keep a diary or anything, but I'm pretty sure if I looked back through my email, through all my social media accounts, through everything, like through my receipts, my purchases, my credit card statements, I could pretty much reconstruct what I did a lot of days.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, I feel like, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with like wanting to, with wanting to take selfies or wanting to do this and that, whatever, and video record things and all that. It's interesting. I almost kind of feel like people just want to like offload. Like, I wonder if the obsession with, like, there was a point where pictures were exciting because a lot of people hadn't really seen themselves before.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was rare that you would get a picture taken of.
Right. That's not a problem any longer. And to some degree, like, I kind of wonder, people want to offload, like, just their thoughts on it. Like, I think that's why people like use Evernote and so many of these other things so much, is they just, it keeps them from having to remember it. But then like it becomes so much, like you kind of end up with nothing. Like it becomes a morass that you can't even navigate through. And so it's not even a memory anymore.
Yeah. Oh, I think definitely when people get really focused on taking pictures and videos of everything, they definitely don't do the work to remember it and savor the moment and like, record it with their mind, so to speak, and enjoy and really experience the moment, right? To be present at that time.
Yeah, exactly. So I worry about that.
Yeah, I think that's maybe my biggest concern about the picture culture.
Yeah,
it's just that you're not in the moment if you're constantly focused on taking pictures of
or
it.
Flying a drone to do all that work. I mean,
is that why people fly drones? I think most people fly those devices for other reasons, I would think.
No, they're
not taking pictures of their picnic or barbecue, really, are they?
No, I mean, there's a whole culture around this. Like, it's a big deal. There's a reason there's retail stores for this sort of thing. And I don't think it's because they're just marketing to photographers that take, cool shots of weddings. Because I understand that. Like, I get it. But these, I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, what in the hell do you want these things to, to do all this for? Like, it's cool. I remember there was these really small helicopters made out of styrofoam. They had little LiPo batteries in them. They could go for about 15 minutes. No cameras on them, nothing like that. But, you could like have fun by ramming them into each other.
Oh, that does sound fun.
Yeah. But like me and my friends, we'd actually be sitting there, and this was just a few years ago, and we would just be, kind of battling with these things, I guess you could say. And that's fun, but that's a completely different thing. And I don't think anybody would have any real issue with that sort of situation. It's when the camera becomes involved. And that's really, I wonder if kind of, I don't want to say the middle of the road, but I wonder if the real problem here isn't necessarily privacy. Like like we both said, I think it's cool if people, or it's not cool. It's understandable if people, see a drone, a camera on it, it's in their backyard. They don't see the operator anywhere to where they can tell them, hey, would you mind pointing that thing someplace else?
Would you mind buggering off?
Yeah, bug off, and they shoot it out of the sky. Okay. I think the problem is that people know that there is potentially repercussions for what that camera records, and legal repercussions, jail time, perhaps something like this, I mean, and I think that might be the real fear. That might be the real concern. Not so much the privacy, because you can appreciate that. Okay, this drone will fly by and it's done. It's gone. It's all over. You know what I mean? If it was really hovering for a good long while, well, okay, then it's being creepy. Then it's like somebody with parabinocular, then it's voyeuristic. But I think that might be the real fear is that they're afraid of the consequences, because, we have laws that are just shit, that were like zoning laws where you can't have a rabbit in your backyard or something, because it's not zoned for any kind of farm animal to be allowed there, something along these lines. And then, it gets crazy. I mean, what do you think about that? Well, I'm saying that I think people, in a lot of these cases, I don't think it's actually about privacy. I think it's about
people are afraid they're going to get caught doing something.
It's about what are the repercussions of recorded video, of pictures taken, and all that. I guess what I'm saying is that if there was a law that was passed that said if it came from a quadcopter or a drone, it's not admissible in court, I think people would feel a lot differently about quadcopters. Okay, I mean,
I don't know.
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know, because sometimes the consequences aren't like legal consequences.
Sometimes
it's
they're social.
Right. It's like leaked nudes or something.
Sure.
That's embarrassing.
Sure.
Even if there's no legal consequences.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Or it's only embarrassing because people make it embarrassing, because people shame those that have leaked nudes while simultaneously gawking at them and sharing them.
Yeah.
So that's a big issue. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I think it's what can be done with those photos, right? People want to have control over the photos and documentation that they take of their life and their actions. And when it's a drone, you don't have control over that stuff, and it gets scary.
It's a control issue. Maybe that's what it's all about. Well,
that's my theory. Yeah.
Fair enough. Anyway, I was intrigued that this guy didn't get sent to any fines or anything.
The reviews are in, and Babylon 5's a winner. The New York Daily News says Babylon 5 could make Star Wars look like a walk in the park. The Chicago Sun-Times calls it a welcome addition to the sci-fi universe. Impressive, perfectly scaled for TV, raves the LA Times. And the Kansas City Star says Babylon 5 is one space station you're likely to want to visit frequently. See for yourself what everyone's talking about on Babylon 5.
Babylon 5 is available for download on your favorite torrent site. See it now to experience the greatest show in television history, Babylon 5.
Adelaide, why are we stopping?
In the future, we have a custom.
What's the custom?
After a successful mission, a team usually has love, a ménage à trois, or orgy.
Yeah, there's only two of us.
I already contacted the others to come join us. I love women too.
Whoa, Adelaide, you're beautiful, but you're an android.
I am fully functional. I am programmed in multiple techniques, a broad variety of...
Wow, I guess so. You did say you move fast. Adelaide, the future is going to be so good. It is time for the climax.
Brian reveals all his fantasies and desires with these bumpers.
Wait till you hear of episode 200.
Seem to involve a blowjob.
Well, not always. Well, no, it's
pretty
actually
much every one.
It's almost always
and sex with robots and zippers. Wow. Like, there's always the moment when he pulls out his dick when the zipper comes down and it's like, look, there's the dick.
All right, let's be clear. The zipper sound is just like a universal, sound of, okay, shit's about to get busy. Like, I mean, it's just...
I know, it's just so over the top. It's funny.
Yeah. I mean, like that...
Your skits are cute. I like them.
I appreciate that. Actually, people really do seem to love them.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, that's why I always use the zipper. Like, that's why that always happens, because it's such an easy way to say, pants are coming off, without having to say a whole lot.
Shit's getting real.
Yeah. So anyway, and it's some... What's up?
Oh, I'm just so tired.
Yeah.
It's getting really late.
It's about 1 a.m. We're getting there. So, but that's all right. We're in the last segment.
Turned into a pumpkin.
Ooh, it's the climax. It's where we can talk about anything. And, it could be a topic, it could be a movie, TV show, comic book, a book. But we're going to talk about a TV show. In fact, it's a TV show that the lovely and hyper-intelligent Dr. Stephanie Murphy and I, which thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for
once
having
again. Me. And, we've been watching just recently.
That's right.
And it's something like, I know I heard a lot of other tech journalists talking about it, saying, how realistic it is to what's happening in their area and all this. And a lot of people kept saying to me, hey, you got to watch the show. You got to watch the show. And I never got around to it. I didn't care. And actually, if I knew it only went like 8 to 10 episodes per season, and it was only, they're in the middle of the third season right now, maybe I would have jumped on it sooner, because it wouldn't have been such a large time investment.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the show is Silicon Valley.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
By Mike Judge. And, of course, Mike Judge also did King of the Hill, the amazing Beavis and Butthead, Office Space, Idiocracy, all of this. So brilliant guy. And yeah, it is a great show. And it is all about this company. Spoiler alert, by the way.
It's all about making fun of Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it's about making fun of Silicon Valley. It's about a company called Pied Piper.
Yes.
That creates this incredible compression algorithm.
A startup.
Yeah, it's a startup. And they end up combating with a company named Hooli, which is
Google.
Obviously meant to be Google, even though at times
they'll mention Google.
Most of the times they won't mention Google. They will, like, what they'll do is they'll say Microsoft, Apple, and Hooli.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of a subconscious way of saying to people, this is Google.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know why they must be afraid of getting sued by Google, but maybe. I guess they're not afraid of getting sued by other companies. I guess because they don't make fun of them as much.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they definitely do enough. Like, there's so much brand advertising in this show.
Yeah.
I somehow get the sense that, like, everybody in Silicon Valley is pitching into getting this made. I mean, you see Dell,
so Silicon Valley.
you see Razer, you see HP, you see Apple, which in a lot of shows, they cover up the little Apple on the back of, like, Apple laptops, because...
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
TechCrunch was in there too.
Yep. TechCrunch, a whole bunch of different things. So I imagine they're getting all kinds of funding from all sorts of places, but this is a very popular show.
Yeah.
As I understand it. So it has to do with the main guy, Richard Hendricks.
Yep.
And his trials and becoming a company.
He's living at an incubator, in quotes.
Yeah.
Which is really like his friend's house who smokes pot all day.
Well, his friend, but like, was it Erlich Bachman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's like a really funny character, and he's like, he's just this goofy guy that takes himself way too seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, what appeals to you about the show?
It's so funny because, like, you can see them. The plot is basically they're taking this company from idea to startup and going through all the stages in between.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always shit that goes wrong and things that happen. Like, they're getting sued by other companies. They have a competitor. They have to find a new office space. Richard gets fired as the CEO and he gets replaced by a different CEO. They have they're trying to find investors, and they have a bunch of investors that are interested. And so they're negging their investors, and like Ehrlich puts his balls on the table, and then suddenly nobody wants to invest in them anymore because something out of their control happens. And then they're begging the investors to invest.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so realistic and so funny.
Yeah, I mean, and I love especially with the guy who's the head of Hooli. They keep
I will always think of him as Albie from Big Love.
Oh yeah, right.
Gavin
Belson.
In Silicon Valley, the character's name is Gavin Belson, but who's the actor? I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Yeah, he played Albie on Big Love, and he was like the villain on. Right. Albie was a villain too. And he's also like kind of the villain on Silicon Valley because he's like the head of Hooli, and he's trying to beat Richard, who has this little company with this algorithm that he wrote that's amazing and fantastic. And Big Hooli, with his spiritual advisor and all these other things, they can't best Richard with this tiny company. Right.
Well, and it's funny, like with Gavin, like it's hilarious because like he says all these amazing tropes, like it says, because if we can cure compression, we can cure cancer, like just all these like insane. Oh, yeah.
And they're all talking about, we're going to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
With our company.
They
all
do
say that.
Right. I mean, they do a great job of insulting, like kind of the genuine bro culture and the Silicon Valley culture that exists, which I complained about. I mean, it was funny because like I was watching the show and I was like, holy shit. It's like, this is what I've been complaining about for years on Sovereign Tech.
It literally makes fun of everything that you thought, all the stereotypes about Silicon Valley that are totally based on reality.
Right. Yeah. And but I will admit, I actually thought, so the show's good. I mean,
it's
on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give the show?
I like pretty close to it. I would give it a 9 just because there's not more episodes. I want there to be more.
Yeah. I'll give it, 8, 7, 8, 9, something like that.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind if they were longer shows too.
Sure. Yeah. Cause it's only a half-hour shot. Yeah. Very short, but they get a lot done inside of that. But I'll admit I was, over the years that it's been out, the way I had heard it described, because people were afraid of spoiling things, the way I heard it described and some of the quotes that were made from it, I thought it was like effectively Pied Piper are the good guys. Like Richard Hendricks is actually like a nice guy.
Yeah.
And like he's trying to do the right thing in all of this.
He's a nice guy who has no idea what he's getting into.
Right. Yeah. And he just has tons of common sense. And obviously in Silicon Valley, there isn't any, or at least there's very little. Now I thought the way I understood the way the show being, the way I interpreted it was that the show was somehow like there weren't any good guys. This was just about like dog eat dog, Silicon Valley companies, and all of them just saying the most ridiculous shit, Steve Jobs style nonsense that means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what the show was going to be about, that it was just going to be like, not slapstick, but like there was going to be nothing serious about it at all. Mm-hmm. As to where, there's some moments in this show. It is a comedy.
Yeah, you do end up rooting for Pied Piper and their team.
Yeah, and the character,
characters.
Guilfoyle is great.
Oh my God, he's so funny.
It's time to walk the left-hand path,
Richard. He's like this Satanist computer programmer.
He's so good.
He's such a nerd.
And,
he's
really great at what he does. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Polyamorous at that. He's something else.
Well, he wasn't really. He was just fucking with Dinesh.
Well, I think he was. He just, yeah.
Anyway. He knew what compersion was anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So hilarious show. It really is. And we're halfway into the third season. So we're totally up to date on this. And yeah, I wish that there were more episodes to it. I think that would be great. I don't know. I'm still looking for it. One of the problems with it is that something always goes wrong.
Oh yeah.
And I
think it's like that really with startups though. Something is always going wrong.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I would like it if at least a little something could just kind of go their way. Yeah. Like they could get a little bit of a win, of some kind of a serious win. But then I guess that, overall that would take away from the charm of the show, perhaps. But yeah, I don't like, when the bad guys are winning and the bad guys are cool, it's fine. But the problem is that, you hate, or at least me, I can't stand any of the other companies in the whole thing. They're all insane. So when the good guy doesn't really ever win at all, yeah, it sucks. When you don't have a cool bad guy and the good guy never wins.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, that's why
in business and in life.
Nah, I know, but that's why I wasn't going to give it a 9.
I see.
I mean, because it just, I don't like that. That feels off.
Yeah, it is. It's very ironic. Like, like Richard in the beginning, he gets offered this buyout from Gavin Belson from Hooli, and he says no, and he says, I'm going to start this company instead. And then he goes and gets investors, and then one thing after another just starts going wrong. And at several points he's like, maybe I should have just taken the cake in the buyout, but no, I really this is my idea. I want to develop it into something. This could be really cool. It's way more than just something to sell off to Hooli, right?
Yeah.
And where was I going with that?
Well,
yeah, he doesn't really get a break after that.
Right.
And like, ironically, his friend who worked sort of with him on Pied Piper, or lived in the same incubator, in quotes, with him, his friend Big Head, ends up getting like pursued by Hooli because they're trying to get revenge on Richard.
Right.
And then he gets promoted to like head of Hooli's division, and he gets this $20 million buyout.
Right.
And he ends up like just totally through none of his own doing, because he's a complete idiot. He gets all this like complete riches, no stress. He gets all this money. He doesn't have to do anything. He gets paid to do nothing at Hooli.
Yeah.
And he gets promoted. And Richard, meanwhile, is like vomiting and sweating in his sleep all the time.
Yeah.
Trying to start this company.
Yeah. So I
Thought
get
he
it.
did the right thing.
Right. So I feel like that it's kind of like, okay, my case example of this is Jurassic Park. The first Jurassic Park movie, now I like the whole movie too, but like the first 40 minutes of Jurassic Park, when you're just seeing Jurassic Park, I think is great. You don't need any conflict. Just show me this world, just show me this stuff. And there's a part of me that's just like, okay, it's like, stop with all the conflict. Stop with, oh, you fucked this up and all this. Just show me the nonsense. Like, I just want to hear the crap verbiage. And I want to.
So you think Silicon Valley could be like Jurassic Park, where it's like the dinosaurs, like you just want to see the world?
Yeah, I just want to, like sometimes, some episodes, I just want to see it happening. And people say, well, but that's how it is there. No. If people were fucking up that much every day, there wouldn't be any companies left there. Okay. But these companies still do ridiculous things. It's just that they're completely outlandish, day-to-day processes. It's like, just show me that. And sometimes I'd like to see that instead of like constantly, oh, Pied Piper lost this. Oh, Pied Piper lost this. And, but then made it up here and all this stuff. Because that gets insane. So, I mean, that's my thoughts on it, but it's a great show. Like, it's very entertaining.
It's so funny. Yeah, I really like that show.
I mean, even if you're not into tech so much, if you're not so knee deep in it,
you'll get it.
You'll get it. It's very funny. Yeah. Now, interestingly, so you would say the same. You would agree with everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Mike Judge, you're not a Beavis and Butthead fan.
No, I never liked Beavis and Butthead. I get the cultural meaning of it, but I even tried to get into it. I used to watch it on MTV.
Yeah.
And I would just be like, this show fucking sucks. It's not funny. It's like,
I am one of the proud owners. I'm one of the proud owners of the King collection of Beavis and Butthead. 10 discs. This is very rare because you can't.
Have fun with that.
Speaking of copyrights, you can't get the episodes of Beavis and Butthead with the original music and the original music videos because copyright, you can't enjoy it the way it was meant to be experienced. And that's a pisser.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah. So anyway, I love Beavis and Butthead. That's totally cool that you don't dig it. Did you like Daria?
I love Daria.
You love Daria?
Yep, I did.
Well, there's no Daria without Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, that's true. She kind of followed in their footsteps.
Daria was good too. Anyway, Silicon Valley, Stephanie and I, 2 thumbs up.
Yes,
definitely.
2 thumbs up.
Awesome. All right, Stephanie, thank you again so much for being on the show. If you loved what you heard today, please don't hesitate to donate. Donate.zog.ninja or wishlist.zog.ninja. Thank you to everybody that already has. Carpe Lucem. Woo! I'll see you on the other side. Boy, it's time to go to bed.
Oh, hell yeah.
You just experienced Sovryn Tech. Go to sovryntech.com, that's SOVRYN tech.com, and connect with us there. Find links from today's show and catch our podcast feed. Sovryn Tech is copy heart. Copying art is an act of love, and love is not subject to law. So please share the show however you like. Welcome to the evolution.